if you could, in 30 seconds, to help somebody that is maybe struggling financially, or just generally wants to start putting some money aside, looking for the future, if you could give some form of financial advice within 30 seconds to a minute, what would it be?
Get your ducks in a row. So it's doing the right things in the right order. So first of all is doing a budget.
Okay.
So making sure you're spending less than what you earn, which sounds super simple, but so many people get that wrong. So it's knowing what's coming in and what's going out. It's then paying yourself first. So day after payday, you have set amount, go to your savings and your investments, and then you spend whatever's left. And that way you always have much more at the end of the month. And then it's also looking at, before you look at investing and before we talk about which fund or which stock or which company to buy, you need to build up 6 months emergency pot. And then when you are investing, look at investing in things that pay you an income and for the long term. And for me, typically it's 3 ways. It's property, stock market and bonds.
What is a bond?
Bonds are just a loan. So take Zoom, as we spoke about earlier. So you can either buy shares in Zoom, which you then become a part owner of that company. Granted, albeit on a very small scale, but you share the profits, but you also share the losses. A bond is another way to invest in said company, but instead of you owning a part of that company, you just own their debt. So like you or I need a loan.
Yeah.
We need money, we have to go to a bank. You get a loan or you get a mortgage. Companies can do that, but they can also issue bonds. So they go, right, Mr. Mrs. Investor, give me 10, 20, 50, £100,000, dollars, rubles, shells, whatever the currency may be. And in return, I'll pay you this amount of interest over this set period. At the end of it, you're going to get your money back.
Right.
So it's just a loan.
And then in regards of, you mentioned about the emergency pot. What is the emergency pot?
6 months expenses.
So everybody, what your outgoings are on a monthly basis.
So if you're earning £5,000 a month and you're saving £1,000 a month, you're spending £4,000 a month.
Okay.
Therefore, you need £24,000, which is 6 months expenses, sat in an emergency pot should the shit hit the fan.
So would you not just? So it's not just your mortgage, it's not just your bills, it's not just everything. Because I bet that could be quite confusing for people. Because people probably underestimate how much they spend just on small transactions. Yeah. And when you actually look at your bank statement, which again I believe a lot of people probably don't do that.
Oh, no, not at all.
How many times do you actually look at your bank statement and look at everything you have physically spent that month, not just your bills, your mortgage, your car, whatever else, like your £5 Greggs every other day, or your Subway, or your Domino's.
Exactly. Look, if you got laid off tomorrow, your kids still need shoes. Like, you still need to eat. You still need to put petrol in your car. You still need to pay for your car insurance. Like, your kids have still got their after-school clubs. Life doesn't end just because you stop working, which is why I always say to people, build up this 6 month emergency pot. And some people say, oh yeah, but Joe, that's a lot of money. I'm like, yes, it is. But it's even more money if you don't have that and something does happen.
And then you have to then resort to buying a credit card.
Yeah.
And then you build up credit card debt, and then you've got the interest on that and everything.
Which takes you 10
You
steps
can quite quickly get into a lot of debt without even realising. So I remember it wasn't until, because I started working for my dad when I was 19, and like I said, I was on about £1,000 a month basic wage. And my dad said to me, if you want to earn money, Tom, you need to go out and sell. I was like, well, I want to earn money, so that's what I'm going to do. And it just so happened that I was relatively good at it. And I was earning good money at 21, 22, 23, 24 years old. But similar to yourself, I was spending it just as quickly as I got it. And it wasn't until lockdown where I got put on furlough at like however much it was, and I had my mortgage to pay for. I just bought a BMW 4 Series, and I was like, shit.
I'm not going to pay for this.
Yeah, I was like, crap. And then that was when I realised, I need to become better with money. And my best friend Elliot had just read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he went, read it, mate. It's the best. And I read that, and ever since then, my personal income and my savings and everything has just gone like that.
Yeah.
And now I've got what I've got. So thank you for Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah. But again, it's like that. Like, for me as well, it's just making everything automated. Like, people laugh at me when I live my life like a military operation. Like, everything is planned down to the minute. And people laugh when they see my diary. It gives people a headache. But I run my finances exactly the same as I run my time. It's like, for me, I find so much freedom in structure and routine, and I outsource as much as I possibly can. So things like I said, the day after payday, just have standing orders, leave your account for your savings, for your investing. So you ain't got to physically do it every month. So you've not got to think about it. So it just looks after itself.
You know, for the average retail investor, somebody that's thinking about getting into doing investing, they've built up the emergency pot. What would you advise in the simplest way? Which fund, which app would you use to give somebody just getting started?
Depends where they're based. So a lot of my clients are based British expats living overseas. So again, for those, there's different investment platforms that they can set up. If you're in the UK, the best thing is a stocks and shares ISA. So I'm guessing most of your listeners are in the UK?
Yes.
Right, so in the UK, stocks and shares ISA with the likes like your Vanguard, your Moneybox, your someone like that, and just make it automated. And again, they'll all have their own like risk-rated portfolios, which basically means in English, you click a button, you answer 5 or 6 questions on how much risk you're happy taking. That'll then we recommend this fund or these funds here, and just buy that. Don't turn into Warren Buffett overnight. Don't think you're a day trader.
Do you know what's the funniest thing about that is that I've got my ISA. I use Trading 212.
Okay.
And I like to think I'm Warren Buffett from time to time, and I'll buy certain stocks, like individual stocks. Like I bought this, is it pronounced REIT? REIT.
Real estate investment trust.
Yeah, bought one of them because I looked at the dividend and it was like 17% dividend. And I banged like 20 grand into it. But it's paying like £200 a month, but I'm minus 3 grand on it. But then the one that's performing the best is I've been putting into Vanguard S&P 500 for the last 4 years. And out of everybody, that's outperformed the lot. And it's like, your advice exactly is don't try and be Warren Buffett and buy individual stocks. Just buy a fund that tracks the market and just let it do its thing.
And I did the same thing myself. Like just before we got married, I got told of this hot tip of this oil exploration company based in Kazakhstan who just struck oil, literally. So I put our entire wedding fund into, 9 months before I got married, so I put our entire wedding fund into buying shares in this company. You're going to know how this ends, aren't you? So
I'm guessing you didn't tell your wife.
No. And it just tanked.
No way.
Went down and down and down. And I put 30 grand in and I ended up selling out for about 7 grand. Yeah. Luckily I managed to find the money elsewhere and the wedding still went ahead and she still agreed to marry me after I told her. But again, that for me were a very expensive lesson of just keep it simple.
Yeah, definitely. What's your thoughts on crypto?
Look, if people want a small portion of their overall investments in it, 1 to 5%, fair enough. But the problem with crypto, and I know NFTs have gone quiet of late, but
Don't talk to me about NFTs.
it's exactly the same though. Do you know what? It's the best marketing I've ever seen in my industry.
Yeah.
It's genius. It's absolutely genius. And they've made it trendy and they've made it cool. And that's the thing, like too many people are putting too much money in it that don't understand it. And arguably, I don't think anybody really properly understands it because it's that new. If you look at the stock market, if you look at the property market, we've got 100 years worth of data. If you look at crypto, it's been around for 2 minutes in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, of course.
So look, if you want to punt, go ahead, but don't be putting your life savings into it. Like I've come across so many people that have, that are very loud when it's on its way up, but when it's on its way down again, they're not.
I think I've bought a fair bit of Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin, and then I put like a couple £100 into the ones that nobody knows about just to see if anything happens. But the way that I've done my investing, which you probably will disagree with, is I've done it on more of a psychological standpoint. I've not put in money that I can't afford to lose. So then when I'm in the red, I've not shit myself and sold. And I've waited.
But that's my view on crypto. Okay. Only putting money in, put money in it, you're willing to lose.
So I bought, I think I put about 5 grand into Coinbase when it went public on Trading 212.
Yeah.
And then it fell through its arse. And I was minus 5 grand for 2 years, but I held. And then the bull run came again, whenever it was, the beginning of this year. And then I was up 15 grand. And I was like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously some stocks you'll stay in the red forever. Like I bought some lithium stock like a penny stock, American battery, something like that. I've been minus 1,500 quid for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I can't see it ever recovering.
And this is why for me, I just buy funds that track the market, and I just keep buying. And I just keep buying.
I find it really interesting. I love like the concept behind the stock market. And for me, it's been a great way of, when I buy a stock and I put X amount in, I know that then I can't do anything with that money, because it's like a habit, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell it, and it's the difficulty of selling it is then keeping you from withdrawing that money. And it builds up over time.
And that's part of my issue with crypto as well. So like if you look around, you're living in the stock market.
Yeah.
That telly, them trainers, them jeans, that watch you've got on, like the microphones we're using, everything is made by companies that operate on the stock market. Like all it is in its most basic form, it's just a marketplace. It's just real companies selling real things to real people. And we're spending money with all of them companies every single day. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, it's not underwritten essentially by anything. There's nothing there. It's just code.
Yeah. How does again, in the simplest terms for people watching, how would you describe the stock market, and how would you say it works in terms of, if somebody was to go on trading 212 now, they press buy, what dictates whether that stock goes up and whether that stock goes down? How does that work?
I'm not an economist. However,
in the simplest way.
Right, so look, like I said, all the stock market it's just a collection of real companies selling real things to real people. So we're in Barnsley now. It's like going down to Barnsley Market.
Yeah.
You've got a butcher's, you've got a baker's, you've got candlestick makers, you've got a sweet shop, you've got all these card shop, you've got all these different companies that are selling things. If you look at the FTSE 100, which is the UK stock market, essentially, which is the 100 largest companies in the UK, it's just an average value of all those companies. So a little bit more to it than this, but if every company's value increases by 1% today, the FTSE increases by 1%. If every company drops by 1%, it drops by 1%. And all you're doing if you're investing into a fund what tracks that, every month you're £100, 1,000 quid, 10,000 quid, whatever it is you invest, automatically your money then just gets split across all them different companies. Which is why if one of those companies then collapses, so let's say you were buying shares in HSBC for argument's sake, okay, and HSBC disappeared tomorrow, your money's gone. If you buy shares in the FTSE and the FTSE has a holding of HSBC, which is say 1% of the total value, and HSBC collapses, it'll affect the fund on a much smaller scale. So it's like anything, it's economies of scale. Age-old basket, you've had a few off Love Island, like, don't pour your eggs in one basket.
Am I right in thinking that what dictates the price of a stock going up is the amount that people are buying at that time? Is that right, or is that wrong?
A lot of it's speculation as well. So a lot of it is profit, losses, data coming out of the company, but a lot of it is people's thoughts and feelings of that company in the future. And a lot of the thoughts and feelings of that company is money coming in, money coming out. And I've heard, this is why I say to people, like with the news, just ignore the news. Because too many people make a 30-year investment decision based on the last 30 seconds worth of news. Like, if you're investing for the long term, what is happening today is none of your business. So just shut it out. And as you know yourself, like all the news portrays is the most negative, the most vicious, the most evil side of any story. Because that's how we're hardwired. We're hardwired for safety to seek out that information. So that's what they promote and that's what they push.